Hi guys, welcome to my studio. It's extremely early, it's like 7:45. I came here as fast as possible just to start with working on the mixing of the Chill soundtrack. That's the one that I showed you yesterday. I want to sit here in the studio for the entire day and just take care of the mixing, and at the end of the day hopefully having a finished track. And since I already have showed you at least in 10 videos how I mix, how I do the EQing of all of the elements, the compression, how to improve your mixing and all these kind of things, I thought about today just showing you something else, and that is how I'm trying to get the most out of my time while mixing a track, how to be able to mix for the longest amount of time throughout the entire day without getting ear fatigue and not being able to mix the track properly. I'm sure you all know that your ears get tired when you mix for a longer time, when you have to concentrate and just try to listen to finer details and you listen to a louder setup. So first of all, whenever I'm doing the mixing, I turn down the volume a tiny bit. When I'm jamming, I like to turn it up a bit to just feel the music a bit more and just have more fun. But while I'm mixing, I actually turn it a tiny bit down. I very often use this little app. It's called Noise. It's just measuring the loudness, the dB. You can set it to measure it over time, the highest, the lowest point, and the average. And every time I'm DJing, I'm just opening it up, go onto the dance floor and test how loud it actually is. Then I go back to where I'm DJing and also measuring it, so I exactly know what the difference between those places are. So when I start DJing, I can crank it up and I exactly know how loud it actually is on the dance floor. Helps me a lot. And here in the studio, I don't really use it a whole, but I can show you with it how loud I'm actually mixing here in my studio. So yeah, just right around 80 dB, that's where I feel comfortable. That's where I can make the best decisions. And when you listen too loud to the music, it's not only that your ear gets faster tired, it's also that you hear the frequencies a bit differently. The louder music is, the higher the high frequencies are actually. I mean, you might know that from the club. If you hear a higher frequency sound in a really loud environment, it almost hurts. That's also one of the reasons why a lot of club tracks have less high frequencies, just to make it not sound that harsh in your ear while dancing. Another tool that really helps me to have longer mixing sessions is Sine. It's an analyzer. It's not that I look at it and mix my track by looking at it. You should actually never do that. But it helps me to find big mistakes that I might not hear because I'm listening to the track so many times over and over again. And also, for example, if you listen to the lower part of the track, kick and bass, and try to fix it, and then listen again to the entire track, you might have the feeling that there are way too many high frequencies. It's just your ear that got used to the lower frequencies, and the analyzer kind of helps me, reminds me that that is actually not the case. This thing is, by the way, for free. It's by Voxengo, and I have to say my favorite free plugin. Another thing that really helps me is just listening to other music in between, A and B kind of testing, and just having something else on my ears. If you listen for the entire time for the same loop with the same elements, you sometimes get a bit crazy, confused, and it's too much. So listening to something else might just free up your mind and help you to make all of the decisions that your mix needs. This way you of course also get knowledge about what is still missing in the mix of your track, where problems might be, just by having something else to refer to. So I got one or two more tips, but now it's time for me to just have my first longer mixing session on this track. I usually open up all of the faders, pull them down. You can just select all of them and just lower them to 0. And then I start with the first element, usually the kick, put it up to a good loudness so that I don't have too much problems gain staging the entire track. So gain staging is the first track, getting the mixing done on this one. The most effective thing by far is of course just having breaks. I usually try to have like 5 minutes of a break every hour. just maybe doing some emails or other random stuff, and every 4 hours at least like 15 to 30 minutes of a break. And that's usually where I try to do like the vlog filming kind of stuff. And then it's just back to mixing again and working more. And yeah, that's what's happening next, going through the mix, doing all of the EQ settings, the compression settings, the reverbs, and then probably another round of getting the levels right. It's quite a lot later, a whole lot later actually. I'm finally done with the entire mix, and that's the point where I stop working on it and just wait for the next day. Nothing will help you as much as like restoring your hearing than just listening again to the final mix down on the next day and maybe take care of the tiny little fine adjustments. And out of all of those things, the one I struggle the most is just going home and resting and sleeping. I usually stay here and not only make 4 hours break, 4 hours a break. I usually make a tiny break and then even 4 more hours or maybe 2 more hours, just to try to get the most out of the day. But today I will actually leave a tiny bit earlier. It's now 7:30, the perfect time to just head home and have dinner with Vanessa. Eating healthy and exercising might also help you to be a bit more efficient in the studio, but I actually can't really tell. I don't have time for both of these things. I just eat whatever is the fastest to make. Today it's just pasta, pesto, and a tiny bit of Parmesan. This time it's really just a tiny bit. If you're wondering why, it's just because we don't have any anymore.